Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon. This is Indy Comics Explained, and yet again, I brought another fantastic group of independent comic book creators. And please don't forget, hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video, let everybody know we're here. And just to remind you, currently on Kickstarter, we have Tall Tales, or So I Thought. First volume of Tall Tales we ever produced in full color. So, beautifully illustrated by Daphne Lage and colored also by Daphne Lage. And if you look, it has lots and lots of words in it. That's because I wrote it and I really don't know how to shut up. So, without further ado, let's bring on our co-host for the day, because the our usual miscreant is not here, so we had to fill him in. We had to fill him in with a gentleman. Here we go.
Well, that's me. When you said miscreant, I thought it was going to be JD Rosario.
That's why I said our usual miscreant is not here.
Nice. Thanks for having me, JD.
Thank you for being here. But please, Tim, let everybody know who you are.
My name's Timothy Fling. I'm a writer from York, Pennsylvania. Right now, I'm mostly promoting two books in our line, which is Water Wars 2288. And this week is the fulfillment for our Cryptid book, which did very well on Kickstarter. That's Call of the Cryptid. It's headed to print on Monday.
Very good. And then we have our our returning co-host.
Returning, yes. I'm C. Michael Lanning, independent artist. Then work for different comic companies and find that out there. And plus also co-host on Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on the Indy Comics Network of Build a Comic Workshop, where Chad Perkins and I are messing things up trying to build a comic. So come watch that and see how bad we do.
Nice. You guys seem to be doing okay. When I check
so far, yeah.
I mean, I'm lying. But,
of course, right? Why would you tell the truth from the live?
I want you to at least feel better about yourself. It's just one of those things. That's for Chad.
I've got drugs to make me feel better about myself, JD. I don't need you.
What's up, John?
Prescribe.
Please introduce yourself.
I'm John Celestri. I'm a 50-year veteran of animation, classical animation, and comic book creation, and best known for working on animating Boba Fett in the Star Wars Holiday Special, and Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, He-Man, She-Ra, Rock and Rule, Batman commercials, and Mr. Magoo, stuff like that. And now I've got my I do my comic books, Bloodwing Angel Chronicles, and also now a Fire Fist Angel. And that's on Kickstarter right now for the next 7 days. And get me across the line, please.
Yes. Get that man across the line. Buy a book.
Yep.
Nice.
And Mr. Tom, who really needs no introduction, Hutchison himself.
Tom Hutchison, writer, publisher, art director, sales guy, shipper, all things Big Dog Inc. We're celebrating 13 years of comics this year. We'll be officially having our celebration in July 5th. We launch our BD13 anthology, which will be a big 40-page anthology with myself, Pat Shan, Stephanie Menard, all kinds of fun covers, all kinds of fun stories. And then we'll be rolling into next year with the return of our Critterverse.
Nice.
Yes. Very nice.
Congrats on 13 years.
Thank you.
Hey.
What's up, Aaron?
Nothing. Who am I? I'm a writer, illustrator, make comic books, and I guess I kind of do it all myself. I don't have any other friends to make comics with. That's why I come on your show, and that's why they usually click me off right away. Like, friend, crap, and they click. And no, I just got done finishing my graphic novel, which JD had, and put it up in my store, and then after finishing that, I went straight into another comic, Noct, which I'll probably be showing on here too. Noct the Barbarian. So yeah, I do my own stuff. More of a cartoonist, probably like John Celestri. I do that stuff, but no, I'm a one-man show.
All right, cool.
I hear that.
So,
that's right. I got another one-man band coming up.
One-man band. Okay. Hey, everybody. I'm Randy Zimmerman. I'm part of Arrow Comics. I am a comic creator out of Flint, Michigan. Right now, I've got the full campaign that's finishing up at fundmycomic.com. And the print file is done, and it's going to the printer as soon as I get one or two more little details done. It's done. But other than that, I'm on the Indy Comics Network on 2 programs. Friday morning at 5 a.m., I do Comics by Night, where we look at comic artwork by these great artists and creators. And then Sunday morning, I do a show called Sunday Funnies, where we talk about that's at 9 a.m. Sunday mornings, where we talk about the stuff that inspires us and the different aspects of the fun, more whimsical part of comics that we love so much, that keeps us in this business and doing what we do.
Did you say you're part of Arrow Comics?
I am. I'm only a part of Arrow Comics.
I always thought you are Arrow Comics, sir.
No. I'm only Arrow Comics is ever since the 80s. It's kind of like a commune collective of creators who put their IPs together under one banner. We've got a wide variety of books that are out there now, mostly crowdfunded, but there's a lot more coming up as far as distribution goes. Fingers crossed and everything looking good. I do a couple of books, a book with C. Michael, a book with J.R. Harris, and a book that I do on my own called HeroBot. But we also have Soul Tack, which is a great science fiction title out of Canada. We also have Chrome Dog, which is a title that Luke Stone and the
Justin Sweet.
Justin Sweet, thank you so much.
Justin Sweet.
My old man, head Spartan. But we also have a great book out now from a couple of just super creators called AR13L, The Little Mermaid.
Oh, I saw that one.
Which is a great parody book, little manga influence in there, art by Eric Hodgson, story by Pixel Trader, and written by Piper. It's just a phenomenal product. Can't wait. And those campaigns are all going on over at fundmycomic.com right now.
All right, cool. All right. So the reason I brought you gentlemen in today, there was I was off last week and a big kerfuffle happened over at Twitter. This gentleman, artist, 38 years old, way too young, passed away. Ian McGinty, my heart goes out to his family and friends. My condolences to them. Gone way too soon. But it stirred up a bit of a hashtag and a conversation about how poorly the industry has treated many creators. A couple of guys I know had some blowback, Travis Gibb and Tyler Carpenter, who I feel, they got a little bit involved in that. And I don't think they were treated well in that situation. I don't think they were treated well at all. Yep. But there were a lot of people who said a lot of stories where they weren't treated well by the industry, right? And this is where this broke me came from, right? And the thing is, I gotta be honest with you, I personally was never broken by comics. I was highly disappointed on many occasions, though. Okay, and I think that's that's what happens to a lot of folks, right? And then here's the funny thing about it is when you listen to the hashtag comics broke me, it can be taken in a couple different ways. It could be it broke, like you're broke. I mean, like you got no cash, you're broke, right? Because there are a number of individuals that's what they're suffering from, right? And I definitely sympathize with that one because, boy, oh boy, Tom, I know I know you know how this feels. When you pay artists out of your own pocket, Timothy, I'm sure you go through this.
I do.
When you pay out of your own pockets, you could, the cash goes out, and it takes a while to come back in, right? So it could break you like that easily. And there's some other individuals who feel, I guess they were physically broken, worked too hard, backs, wrists give out, that sort of thing. In those cases, I would just say never, ever, ever give yourself to any employer who will do that to you. Never give your services to those people because, I've worked for corporations for years and they don't care about you. You're replaceable. I've had these deep conversations with coworkers and I'm like, look, guys, I could pass away tomorrow. You could pass away tomorrow. Everybody in this room will mourn for me for 2 days. And in that third day, they're going to be like, yo, who are we going to get to replace JD?
2 days?
Right?
Yeah,
That's
2 hours.
If even that. Right, exactly.
If you're Catholic, it's 3.
Well, there you go.
You get an extra day on us if you're Catholic.
If you're Catholic, yes. So, yeah. So here's my question for everybody. It's like, one, what's a situation you've ever been in? And it just doesn't have to be comic books. It could be any type of media that you were in that maybe disappointed you, right? Not necessarily broke you, but disappointed you, right? 2, what's a situation that made you happy? to be involved in this medium. You understand? Because we're not in this to be broken. We're not in this to be sad. I'm in this because I love this. You know, and I mean, I have nothing but joy for this industry. And I want everybody to have joy. And when people tell me these sad stories, I'm like, how can we fix this? How can we make things better for you and for everyone? Right? Because that's how I feel about it. I'm not going to stick around in an industry where it's like everybody's sad and dour and, you know, just looking down like, damn it, I get treated like crap. And, you know, and all I want to do is draw Spider-Man. You know, I'll be like, well, you know, you might want to draw something else. I don't know. You know? So look, I'm going to start it off, right? So I'm going to start off with a situation where I was disappointed. I went to a publisher. They asked me to come. A friend was over there. He was an editor. He asked me to come in. He said, hey, man, they had a couple of books they wanted me to write, right? So they were going to pay me, and that was cool. And I go in an interview with the publisher. Publisher was a big time publisher in Manhattan for a long time. He passed away like a year after that, God rest his soul. But he offered me $1,500 for all the rights. And when I say all the rights, I mean all the rights within the universe. These were words that were in his contract, right? For the Oswald Chronicles. Okay, for $1,500. And I was just like, what? Now, it kind of worked in my favor that I worked the overnight before that, so I was kind of half asleep. Thank God I had Daphne with me. She was there listening for me. I was like, all right. So we listened. We got the contract. We took it. I read it. I was like, nah, this is never happening. I told him never. I actually called another friend of mine who was a publisher, and I said, listen, how's it sound? He said, do you need $1,500? I was like, no, I don't. And he was like, then don't take the deal. I was like, okay, there it is. So I blew those guys off. So that highly disappointed me that this person felt he could take me or any creator for that amount of money for property that I had up to that point worked really hard on, right? And then in reverse, you know, what is something I'm proud of in this industry? I think the ability to go on Kickstarter, right, and go on other crowdfunding platforms to raise money to do more work, right, to create more books. Because before Kickstarter, it was slow going. It was just going to conventions, and that's how I was raising funds, right? So it was very slow, right? But now I can get fairly sizable chunks of cash together, you know, and create these books at a much faster pace, you know. So and look, man, I mean, and for me, that's exciting. I was like, you know, I'm at a point now where I'm doing the Oswald Chronicles, I'm doing Tall Tales, but there are other projects on the horizon. And it's not just one or two. I got like 2 or 3 that are coming up, you know, and it's my schedule's already crazy. It's just going to get crazier, you know? So, yeah. So there it is. Randy,
Sir,
you're up. What are your thoughts?
Well, I proposed a counter hashtag, comics saved me.
There you go.
Because growing up, you know, comics literally kept me sane in a very, very bad youth, shall we say. And it's just, if you have to look at disappointments, there are always disappointments inside the industry, people that don't pay up or numbers that don't come in right. Or if I have to nail down a specific area that disappointed me, the direct market, the direct distributor disappointed me. It's not the retailers at all. It's always the direct distributor that did me in pretty hard. But I found that we're in the most creative field that you can ever be in. And if you creatively look at this problem and the fun part about comics history is a lot of people do, they creatively look at these problems in marketing, problems in distribution, the problems in getting comics out to people, and they figure out ways to go around. So for about a decade between 2009, 2019, when I was at my lowest point, didn't like the market, didn't want to be in comics, I started my own local comics paper called Flint Comics and Entertainment. And I moved 10,000 copies of that paper all within like a 25-mile radius of my house. We got advertisers to come in. People didn't even have to pay for it. But once a month, the people out there could come in to a newspaper box, or when they walked into a restaurant, they could pick up a newspaper and get a bunch of strips. And I threw as much of my stuff in there as I could, and a bunch of syndicated work as well. And I gave them an entertainment paper. And what that showed me, it reinstilled my love for this industry, because everyone, except for a few people that don't have a sense of humor, loves comics, and they look at this art form as a form of entertainment. It took a while for the paper to catch on, for everybody to realize it was there. But when you get calls in the early evening from people that won't even identify themselves, that demand to know where the newspaper is because they didn't see it out that day, you know, you kind of made it, you know. So I started a Facebook page specifically for Flint Comics, going, it's being put together, it's going to the printer, it's out of the printer, it's on the stands right now, go out and find it, that kind of thing. But that, and up until the Flint water crisis, which really killed the mom and pop advertising dollar up here, I was doing really well with that paper, and it was gaining a bit of ground everywhere except for in the inside of the comics media, where I would send out press releases and be totally ignored. I'm like, here's a great format, we can do this, I'm moving 10,000 copies, never got any press from anybody. But for that 10 years, those 100 issues, I have 1 million copies of my own newspaper that are out there, and I still hear from people how much they miss seeing that paper. And when I had to shut the paper down because it was tapping my savings too much, every issue was a little bit more and a little bit more, I was looking around and found crowdfunding and podcasting. And I'm like, oh, great, comics are back, and there's a way to work around this direct distributor. And they've, you know, the art form will always survive. You know, and as I said in a Facebook post, always do the work, but never let the work do you. You have to go out there and keep yourself healthy and be careful about that stuff. And like you said, if there's a publisher or if you're working for somebody and you're feeling like a slave, you need to get out. And there's always ways. There are always creative ways. And I can't wait to see the next steps in distribution for sequential art, to get out there into different markets and different places and be more accessible to as many people as we possibly can.
All right, cool. John.
Good answer.
Yes.
Well, I've got 50 years of stuff here. So
but try to boil it down to 2 answers.
Okay, I'll 2 answers. Okay, so well, let's put it this way, because it's all intermingled. Because the first 25 years, basically 27 years, was with animation as a cartooning, and that's where my strength was. Right. You know, I was able to do some really cool stuff, especially in the early part of it, because there was a resurgence. Animation had been dead. So I was part of the resurgence of 2D, classical 2D animation, going from 1975 all the way through to about, well, the resurgence really didn't happen until 90s, you know, and stuff like that. But for the first period of time, there's a generation of people who grew up and had to relearn classical animation. So I'm part of that. And actually was some of my most creative work there back then. And that's what I take pride in, is stuff that we taught ourselves. We just we reinvented or just resurged the energy that came afterwards to that. So I went through that, and that's great. So I learned that. A disappointing part of that the thing is you're only a wrist there.
Right.
You are only a wrist, and it's just beam counters and basically how much footage can you do. There are some certain things that you can do if you can learn to be creative within the limitations of what you have in terms of the time period and what you have to work with. Then you learn to take a joy in what you are able to do, and you come out with a sense of accomplishment because you did the best you could. If you learned how to marshal your talents and do the work. Now that takes me in through to comic book work. You know, I enjoy doing what I'm doing because no one's telling me what I can or can't do to create the stuff. Okay, so with crowdfunding is a way of at least presenting your material to people who may like it, you know. And so I've had this is my I know, 6th or 7th or 8th campaign that I've done. Up until this point, I've not failed on any one of them. So we'll see. But that tastes change. What I do know, I guess what I'm disappointed at, okay, right now with present day comic book situation is the audience, and it appears there are limited taste of what is available and what seems to be interesting, because we don't have the same people, the same pool of curious audiences as we had in prior to games. Now, I'm part of that game sit because I'm Dragon's Lair and Space Ace. Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm part of the reasons that we're in that situation. But that's not my fault. I didn't, I was a wrist doing the best I could on that. But anyway, it's like when you present something that is different, there is and this is true for all mass marketing and mass entertainment, unless it's really familiar and has an imprimatur, people are not willing to take a chance for the most part. And we've had our conversations about who is an outlier and who is what. But the idea of of comic books as a way to bring an idea across, if you've got the ability to do both, it's like being a comic strip artist where you do the whole thing yourself, and it's your image, it's your stuff. Anyway, that's it so far. Okay, I know.
Awesome, John. Thank you. Tom, what are you thinking?
I mean, a lot of this stuff is kind of already been said. It's comics started disappointing me a long time ago, before I was even doing my own stuff, and I think that was probably the trigger to me to be like, what could I do? Is there something that I could do that maybe is I don't know. You don't want to say you're better than the competition, but just at least different. So. Just from a storytelling standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, from a creation standpoint, the big two went through this period that they still kind of exist in, where everything is just a rehash of what they've already done. And it's how many civil wars can we have, and how many secret wars can we have, and how many crises can we have, and on and on and on. It just. I was like, what are we even doing? Like the House of Ideas, and this is what you're giving me? You're giving me the same idea wrapped in different wrapping paper? Like, how is this working? And so that was kind of my first real disappointment in comics, is when that stuff really started happening. And I was doing my own books kind of during that period of time when it started getting really, really awful. And so my thing with my comics was, it is the comic saved me in so many ways, because one, I felt like I was creating something that had some intrinsic value to it beyond what people already knew. And so the goal was like, we know there's 8,000 Spider-Mans and there's 500 Supermans, like whatever, but let me show you this. And even if you like those things, this should sort of be at least a tangential, thing. Like if you like superheroes, I have this superhero. Let me talk to you about it. And so that was fun, because we were seeing, while John is 100% right in the context of people are very wary of trying new things, we definitely were seeing people that were like, hey, I'm interested in what this is. Like, tell me what's going on. To the point where, our books were selling numbers alongside all of the small press guys, and this was just me and my wife in a basement, making comics. So, and to be perfectly honest, I mean, I've done a lot of crap in my life. I have been a bouncer. I have been a lot of stuff in my life, but everything that I always did and came back to art, came back to creation, and ultimately came back to comics, So without the even minor success that we had in what we do with Big Dog Inc., I don't know where I would be. I mean, comics is literally at this point all I know, and so I put everything that I have into what we do to make a good product for the buyers at the end of the line. And crowdfunding has changed the game completely for us. When I started 13 years ago, you were shoveling thousands of dollars into your books to put it into Diamond and wait for them to sell it to a store before you ever saw a return check. And by that time you're on issue 3, so thousands again and thousands again before you ever saw that first check come back. Now you're talking about crowdfunding where we're still putting money into it, obviously, to get the book started, all your covers and your tiers and stuff. But it's 2 weeks after your campaign, there's your money in your pocket. So crowdfunding has changed everything for comics, and I think now with Image going exclusive over to Lunar, Diamond's day in the sun is over. It's only a matter of time before they're gone. And it's going to be really an all new Wild West probably next year, with Lunar trying to pick up whoever they can pick up, and all of us creators that are on sort of this external level of distribution from stores. We're all going to be over here going, look, we're just making books on crowdfunding, man. Indiegogo, Kickstarter, whatever you use. Right. And that's not stopping. I mean, you watch Kickstarter numbers, they're not as high as they were during the COVID period and the after period, but they're still constantly around 250, 260 campaigns at any given time in a month, which means people are just creating, and that's awesome.
Yep.
Agreed.
Cool. Aaron, before you start, hold on, let me just run through a couple of these. All right, so Alexis Vivilo says, I was one of the Action Lab authors when everything go to hell. That time was when I really considered left comics. Now I prefer work with little projects and crowdfunding and not with the big publishers. There you go. And Mr. Tyler Carpenter says, Tom looks so cool and confident. There you go.
I have learned everything that I know in comics from Tyler.
There you go. Jake Tavista says, games are not the issue holistically. It's as terrible as other hobbies. The issue is far more intricate, with generational differences in seeking media versus being served media. Okay. And Wiley J. Drawer says, Infinite Crisis for real. There you go. Yeah, it's always a crisis in here. So Aaron.
It's funny. I don't know. I mean, I agree with Randy. I think comics did save me in a way. I think my biggest disappointment in comics, I don't know if comics broke me, but making my own stuff, I was always disappointment. I know this is going to sound weird. There was a lack of creativity in comics. Mm-hmm. It seems like to me so many people are so focused on the business side of comics, they sometimes will play it safe with the creativity. And I've usually always noticed the more creative risks you take, the bigger the chances are. I mean, you're going to most likely lose anyways. I always look at the Ninja Turtles when I started. I mean, that came out of nowhere. And you would think you would see more crazy stuff like that, but I see more superheroes and stuff, and nothing wrong with that. But it's like you do have a piece of paper, you could do anything you want. And if you hit the creative streak or luck, then you can start capturing people's imagination. But it's weird to me in a business where people say there's no money, people want to play it safe. Well, why? If you have no money to begin with, then why are you playing it safe? Go for broke. Do the craziest thing you can think of. Do all sorts of weird stuff and see what hits, because it's like you got nothing to lose. Technically, if there really is nothing to gain, right? So that was always kind of my disappointment a little bit, was sometimes getting people to try new things. Like John said, it's really hard to get people. I'm always amazed. I sell my comics for $5. You pay more for Taco Bell than my book, but people will balk at that. Most people are like, I'd rather be in the bathroom all night. And I'm like, well, then you can buy my comic and have something to read while you're on the toilet, right? Taco Bell. So, I mean, win-win. There you go, right?
Yeah.
I love the medium, but I do think creative risk should be taken in this business more as you get more up. And of course, the higher you get in the business, the more you get businessmen come in. And once businessmen come in, then they're hedging their bets and playing it safe. I think because when I grew up in the 80s, a lot of people are like, why are they so creative in the 80s? Why are those ideas? I'm like, because everybody worked in a vacuum. Nobody knew what anyone else was doing, and nobody knew what anyone liked. Like if people made aliens and stuff. I mean, in Star Wars, he just did what he thought was cool. Now you don't do that because, well, I can do this, but let me see on the internet what's trending, what's cool, whatever. And I think sometimes the internet and the outside world gives so much influence on people, it starts to minimize that creativity and everything becomes homogenized. And when you start homogenizing stuff, especially in this industry, a lot of people are like, well, why should I read comics when I get the same thing in movies and games? Like you really should be, this should be the stuff with like the craziest stuff is happening here. Where you're like, man, I want to read comics because, man, none of the movies or games do any of that crap. But they're doing it here. So I want to read all that stuff. And so I'm always amazed when people look at my ideas and say they're original. I had that with my kids' book. I had 2 kids' book published at Action Labs. So I feel for you, Alexis. I was one of those guys, too, that went through that and lost it. But all I did was, I like aliens, I like wildlife, and so my kid's book is about an alien wildlife photographer. He photographs alien wildlife, and people are like, how original. And I'm like, dude, all I did was take a like animal photographer and mix it with alien. 2 disparate ideas, boom, see what you can do with it. It is so simple to do, and people are like, I don't get it. So that's my biggest frustration with comics is like, especially when I had one guy years ago, it's like, I got this really great story for a comic, and you always are like, all right, let me hear it. And it's like, I got this guy he's got ice powers, and this guy's got fire powers. I'm like, okay, done. I don't need to really want to know anymore. I'm done. I've seen that 1,000 times. But it's weird. The one thing I have noticed, Christopher Nolan talked about in the late 90s. I noticed this too. A lot of people on the internet are really concerned about originality, copying things. Like he said, when you had movies, well, that's copied from this, that's copied from that. That's completely flipped. And now he said people like things that feel familiar. And they, because like I'm not a huge fan of the Marvel superhero movies because people like they're all the same. And I'm like, well, welcome to the world of comics in a way. I don't know. The story beats are all the same. It's a different wrapping paper, but they're kind of all the same. So I've always been one to try to challenge creators to do is unique and different, because you do have a blank piece of paper and your imagination is the limit. And I'm always amazed that people don't also play with more formats and techniques in drawing. I love when I get comics from the library where people do watercolor or photographs. It just makes unique ideas I've never seen before. But most of them are not from America, and that's the disappointing part to me. And so I'm like, you really want to stand out. So yeah, 80s were diverse. Elcrest, Silver, yeah. And that's what I grew up with all that diverse titles. And now I don't see that. And it's because I'm the guy who wanders around the comic shop for hours looking for that one cool thing I haven't seen before. Comic shop owners hate me. They're like, can I help you? And I'm like, no, go away. I'm busy. I'm looking for all your stuff. But yeah, I mean, like when I saw like the Oswalds, I'm like, that's cool. That's a Mouse of Magic. That's cool. Like, I like that stuff. And I bought your Tall Tales years ago. I have two or 3 of the books out in my garage. Yeah.
Well, and the funny thing about it is like Service, Elfquest, Journey, Love, Rockets, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's all the popular stuff. He's not mentioning stuff like Sunrunners and like The Realm and Dead World and
Fish
the
Police.
Flaming Carrot.
Fish Police,
Flaming Carrot. Crying out loud, the Flaming Carrot.
Yeah.
Troll Lords. Yep. Southern Knights.
Great stuff. Yeah.
You had just such cool, unique. You go in there. I remember going to my comic shop because we have Dark Horse up in Portland. I mean, outside Portland, Oregon, and you always see the wackiest stuff, just the coolest stuff. I mean, and I was like, wow, look at all this weird. I remember Ninja Turtles when I first saw that in the comic shop. I was, what the hell? If you can get somebody to go, what the hell, and pick up your stuff because they don't even know what it is they're looking at, but it's interesting, I think you've got to win. I've had people actually stop by my sign because I have a Roscoe, the alien wildlife photographer. I've had people stop by when they start reading it and they stop and they're like, what the hell is that? I'm like, well, now I've got your attention, don't I? So it works. That's my biggest stuff. I mean, there's lots of others, but I do like comics because it actually gives you the ability to create anything. It's a very easy entry point into comics. It's just time consuming to make what you want to make.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a very easy entry point into creativity and mixing words and pictures. So,
All right, cool. Mr. Lanning.
All right, I'm going to answer this because I'm not really talking about my frustration with comics, but my biggest disappointment, I would have to say, finding out that there's such a thing in this as scam artists and opportunists, and they're not necessarily the same thing, but you need to avoid both of them. And you'll be taken by an opportunist a lot quicker than you'll be taken by a scam artist, but it can still happen to you. I had one incident where I was paid. Yeah, I had one incident where I was paid $25 to do a postcard, the pencils for a postcard, which is whatever the case is. I did it. I was newer to this. That's fine. They took those pencils and they took that whole thing and they made it a comic cover. I had never done a cover at that point in time. Not only did they make that a comic cover out of the $25 they paid me for a postcard, they made that comic cover exclusive to only 10 people who bought it. I never got that comic cover. The first comic cover I've ever done, which I wasn't even aware that I was doing a comic cover, I never got.
You never got a comp copy.
Never got a comp copy of that. Wow. Never got a comp copy, never got a heads up on it or nothing. So yeah, there are opportunists out there and they'll take advantage of you, I promise. So that's the biggest disappointment. As far as the delight, I think that has yet to happen, to be completely honest with you. I think it's coming. Finally getting paid what you're worth, finding out that, hey, you don't have to do $25 for a postcard, and you don't have to necessarily do things for free in this business is definitely a delight to find out. So I'd say that's pretty much quick to the point on as far as those two answers are concerned.
All right, cool. Angry man. Anyway, Mr. Tom.
I've been shit on. What can I tell you?
And then I show up and ruin his night. So
no, Aaron, you have nothing to do with that. But you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Tim, what are you thinking?
Well, I guess I'm going to start off with the positive parts first, which, in my case, my journey's been a little bit different, right? And I'm quick to admit that I guess I've been kind of lucky compared to some of the folks out there. And I should mention, man, my heart goes out to this fella, Ian McGinty, who passed away much too early. And it's just a tragedy. We have to remember that there's a human being behind these terrible events that happened. But, getting back to the comics broke me hashtag, my experience has been a really positive one. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I'm grateful for the fact that, like the people in this room, the indie community is very supportive and really uplifting of the other people, especially when they're new. Because, of course, I've only been around about 5 years. So first off, thanks, everybody, for being that way. I haven't experienced anything in my case of anybody not getting paid or being, suppressed in any way. I do feel compelled to mention, because I'm a writer, other writers out there, if you're listening to this, don't do the deal where you're trying to get the artist to work for free. And I'd even go one level more and say, don't even do the deal where we say, hey, I'll give you a percentage of the profits if you do the pages first, or I'll pay you back out of my Kickstarter. It's one man's opinion. I think it's bad form because a lot of things can happen during a Kickstarter that people don't necessarily control. And you potentially are setting yourself up to be that guy who didn't pay his artist what they were worth. Now, I get it, of course, that it's a thing that publishers are not paying artists what they're worth. And my first statement to that should be to the effect of, publishers do better. Pay your artist. Everybody's watching. The creative process is not a cost. It is part of a whole. Without the artist, look, none of us are going to get anything off the ground. So we have to sort of protect them first. And I guess where I would go with that in the disappointment sense is that it has been a little harder than I guessed to get the books into comic book stores. I got a couple of small publishing deals. As you know, I got the Antarctic deal. I got a couple deals with them. I got a couple books with Travis Gibb. They're getting into comic book stores. I got Russell Nolte's book. But, it's not necessarily I got to circle back around to something that Tom said, because it's kind of inspirational what he said. He's been doing it 13 years. He's a well-regarded figure, right? The point is, you don't have to be one of the big two to make a quality product and to get noticed in the marketplace. And I think that as an indie creator, I'm speaking for myself now, your mileage may vary. But if you're making a quality product, it's eventually going to get noticed. And if you're thinking about starting out, I got to recommend the water's warm, jump on in. Where you're going to quickly find is that there's groups like this one where you're going to meet people. We lift each other up. We try to help. And, you know, they sort of take you by the hand and walk you down this road towards success. And like I was saying to the guys backstage, I started out as a short story writer, getting exactly zero traction with the short stories, right? And of course, that's a different path. You submit to magazines and you try and get into anthologies and whatnot. And one of my buddies said to me, it was Martin Dunn, if you guys know Martin Dunn. He said, hey, you ought to think about having these illustrated. And they could be, sort of like what some people would call a graphic novel or a comic book in essence. Mm-hmm. And almost right away, they started being fairly well received. And it was about, a year after that, at first, I didn't even know about crowdfunding, right? I was, brand new guy. And I was going to comic conventions and I was giving them away, please notice my book. I'm a writer. I'm trying to get noticed, right? I was giving them away for free. Mm-hmm. And by the way, that was the first Water Wars book, incidentally. And then somebody said to me, hey, they got this crowdfunding thing. It was Kickstarter is my personal choice. There's a couple choices now. There's Indiegogo, Zoop, Crowdfunder. There's some pretty good ones. But as soon as I got onto Kickstarter, each one, I just finished number 6, and I'm up 20% each time. So I'm really grateful. I don't really have a sad story to tell. And the one thing that I would kind of say to anybody that's listening, please develop the reputation of being a person that pays your people a fair wage for what they're doing. And again, I'm not disparaging anybody that does something different. I understand there's many different ways. But I mean, I pay everybody up front and then I pay myself back out of the Kickstarter. So I would have too much anxiety to say, hey, I realize you just drew 48 pages, but I'll probably pay you back then if this thing makes it. I don't know how people do that. It doesn't seem fair to me. And of course, again, that's one man's opinion. I understand there's many different models and many people are very successful with their crowdfunding. So I'm not telling anybody what to do, but as JD mentioned, this is a thing now, right? You got a comics broke me movement. Artists are struggling, and we have to, now that there's a light shining on it, we've got to try and do better, particularly those of us that consider ourselves publishers. Like I say, I never had a goal to be a publisher. It happened to me accidentally, fellas. I'm trying to just be a writer. But the truth is, now people are watching, so we have to do better.
All right, cool. Marvin asks, where is JD?
What's up, Marvin?
I don't know. JD won't even tell us where he hid the body, so I don't
know.
Marvin, your book looks great, buddy.
Yeah, that guy's off in the hinterlands. No, he'll be back next week. He's celebrating Father's Day today. That's what it is. Because last weekend he was at a convention. It's a likely story. That's the short of it he gave me.
That's what he says anyway.
Yep. So Tim, you're up. Ask a question, sir.
Oh, okay. I guess the first question I would ask, and hopefully this isn't too sensitive of a topic, but one of the things we talked about the other night over on our podcast, and I didn't realize this is as much of a thing as it was, but one of the big things about the comics broke me movement is that a lot of people, maybe I better say this more gently, some people are maybe not protecting their mental health as well as they could be. And, one of the questions I would ask, I think all creative people are potentially susceptible to having burnout, experiencing elements of depression. You get to a level where you just, oh man, I can't do this anymore. So my question to the group would be, what types of things do you do to prevent that from happening? Or if it's not you personally, we all have teammates, right? How do you encourage your teammates so they don't feel like they're getting burned out and depressed?
Fair. John, you're up first.
Okay. If just look at it as a profession first, enjoy the journey, but think of it as a profession. You can't put yourself emotionally into the work because you've got no control over it. You can be as professional as possible, and do the crafts as much as possible, but take care of your physicality. If you are okay, one thing is getting paid for overtime, okay, putting in all that hours, and the other is doing it for glory. You can't eat glory. Glory doesn't take. Well, that's an old saying. What we had is that you just can't eat glory, because there's a lot of people who say, look, it'll be a great thing, wonderful, this and that, here's your chance and whatnot, and you'll get your foot in the door. Well, where's your foot? Where's your door? And what are we getting into? That's a very important thing. So I would say, have a healthy cynicism for where everything is going. If you have to get paid, and I guess one of the things I'd say is, if it's a freelance job, 1/3 up front, 1/3 on showing the roughs and all of that, and then the last third is on delivery. And
fair.
get the money before you deliver it.
Yes.
That's fair.
Yep. That's fair. All right, Tom, what are your thoughts? How are you staying healthy?
Oh, Red Lobster. How we do it out here.
Tom has steak.
Yeah, you really, and this it's something that's going to take you a minute to figure out, but you have to realize your physical and mental sort of limits, right? So, and you're not going to know them immediately. You're going to have to do a whole bunch of shows until you realize, like, this is too many shows. You're going to have to do a whole bunch of pages in a week before you realize this is too many in a week. And then you can kind of start to adjust yourself to, like, this is what I can maintain consistently for quality and for speed and so on and so on. We used to do 20 to 30 shows a year. And I was like, we did that for about four or 5 years. And I was like, yeah, I'm done with that. That's over. And we cut that back immediately to like 10. And now even then it's like 5. And it's really only if I'm invited to these cons anymore. Now, part of that was also because crowdfunding changed the game for us. So we didn't have to chase a lot of money at all these cons. But I came to a realization where I was like, I'm just crossing the country, week after week, month after month. And this is just not, it's not good for me. It's not good. It doesn't help me with my work. It doesn't help me with my family. It doesn't help me with any of this stuff. So I think just the trick is to find your limits and understand them and recognize that they're fine, they're acceptable. But here's the slippery slope. You cannot fall into a state of comfort either, because if you land in the comfort zone, you won't have enough drive to push yourself a little bit more and build your craft, build your brand, build your communication with people, whether you're going to cons to, just talk to editors or whatever. So you have to find the nice little balance between, I've done enough, but can I do just a little more to just keep driving yourself? Because if you stay in the comfort box, you'll feel good, but you might be missing opportunities that could, come around if you're not, sort of actively engaged in the idea of, driving yourself a little bit forward.
Good answer.
Cool. Aaron, what are you doing to keep yourself straight?
Straight. I don't know. I mean, there's, I exercise. I go to the gym and go for walks and stuff. Sometimes you can split your concentration between drawing. This has come from an artist and doing other things besides watching movies. I know this sounds very bizarre, but a lot of times I will draw while playing video games. I know this sounds weird. The pause button, the games like to talk a lot. It seems like games anymore like half a movie. Like, I don't want to watch you. But it
load screens,
load screens or whatever and stuff. I've got entire pages done at night watching, like playing video games and stuff. And strangely enough, I noticed it also just breaking my concentration. So if I'm having a problem on the page, I can't figure something out. If I play the game for 10 minutes and if I come back to the page, I'm completely fresh because it's breaking my line of sight. So it's getting my mind off what I'm doing and into that. So I do that. I take breaks. I don't know about, I'm not, yeah. Art has always been more therapeutic for me. It's something I enjoy doing. So I'm not really sure. I mean, I can tell you on the professional side, I do a lot of motion graphics and stuff like that. I just got the attitude that I never really cared about that art. In other words, whatever the client wanted, I just look at it from the client's paying me a chunk of change. They get what they want. So I don't really invest much. In fact, I rarely even show my art on that. I have that art on my website, but I rarely push it because I don't care really. And a lot of the art I do for that stuff is very simple compared to what I can do. So, but I mean, as long as the client's happy, I get money, that's fine. I just divorce myself from the outcome of those projects and just focus on my own project. So, yeah.
All right, cool. Randy?
Oh, me next. Okay, no problem.
Yes,
I'm a firm believer in quality time. If you feel tired, you take a nap. And when you're awake from the nap, you're going to be a lot more productive than if you're staring here at the board trying to keep yourself awake. Quality time is very important. But the thing that really keeps me sane, I have to say, is my wife. So I'm lucky to have an anchor that understands the business that I'm in, that knows the hassles that I go through, and I rely on her a lot of times to be my conscience. and to tell me that when she tells me to keep my mouth shut, I try to keep my mouth shut. Especially when it comes to social platforms and that, I try to stay away from all of that. I got one or two places I'm in social platforms that I go to all the time, and other than that, I try to stay off of it as much as possible. She completely forbids me from having video games, which I know has made me a lot more productive. So. And she loves to read and critique my work, which is great. And she's got a great perspective that I totally respect. I met her while I was retailing at a comic shop 33 years ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Okay.
And she had a son from another marriage. I had a daughter from another marriage. We were going to give them a play date together. And then she had a shine for me before I had a shine for her. And we decided to go out to a movie to see if we can get along together and before we take the kids out. And we went to see Beetlejuice at the theater. That's how long ago that was. And I was moved in within a week, and we've been together ever since. So it's just the way that it worked. I got she reminds me quite often. I got incredibly lucky. So, but other than that, your mental and physical health are so important. I just came through a couple of years ago with a big bout with the bug, and I was just talking with the daughter today, which is why it's fresh in my mind that I really shouldn't be here. Because of the percentages and stuff. I'm really lucky to be here, really lucky to be alive. And I've got a bucket list that I'm going to do, that keeps me alive and healthy. And that's part of why comics is, really saved me. But your mental and your physical health has to come first. It's the only way you're really going to be productive. It's the only way you're really going to be able to stay on top of stuff. So you have to be careful, and you owe it to yourself and to your all of your loved ones to stay up on it. It is a wire, because we've been doing this, JD. We've been doing this for like 35 some years.
Yeah.
And we've seen so many people come and go.
Yeah. I mean, if you just want to know what comics could do to you, just watch JD every week. And
there are.
You'd be like, "Whoa, crap!" All right.
And there are so many stories out there where you have to be careful, because somebody said, I think it was John, mentioned that when you're creative like this, you do have a propensity for abuse, substance abuse, alcohol abuse really runs through this industry. Right. And you have to be careful. You have to know that, acknowledge that, and be careful, and luckily all of my the wife watches over all of my vices. So
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, but Aaron, that's why Rosario took off the last 2 weeks because
Yeah.
what's been doing to it.
Spices. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah. I mean, I could see. And
I'm fine, all right. So anyway, Mr. Lanning.
you should put that as his title if you could when he comes back on. Comics broke me, just right underneath him. Just don't tell him.
He is broke. I know that for a fact. But I'm
I like Carlos's comics made me broke.
Comics made me broke.
There you go. Yep.
But how can you be broke when you've got all these comics?
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
all that great reading.
So Mr. Lanning, what do you?
One thing, I got two answers for this. One, it's learning to say no, and you know what, and being okay with looking like an asshole sometimes. That's just how it's going to have to be. Sorry, you just if otherwise it's going to kill you, and people will just take advantage of you. Two, it's also this thing that I don't know if it's a new thing, but it starts with a P. Don't ask me to pronounce it, but it's something strategy where you work for 25 minutes and you take a 5-minute break.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that for about 4 cycles, and then you take about a 15, 30-minute break. And I tried that this past week, and that seems to work pretty good. Because that way you're kind of you're just reaching for that 25 and trying to make that whole the whole page done and so many time in such a limited time. So yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
For myself, if I'm feeling a little off, I'll either go read a book, or I'll go watch a movie, or I'll just do the thing that will really do it for me. I'll just go have a nice walk with the wife. We'll just go off and just take a nice walk, go have dinner, lunch, whatever. We'll just go somewhere and just take a walk. And I think that always helps. The biggest thing though is we go on vacation. That's I think the best thing. We'll take a couple weeks off, or we'll go to Disney World, or we'll go wherever, and we'll do that sort of thing. And I think that's always the best. What is Nita saying?
She's complaining about the timers. For the
Is that what that is?
Yeah. You're lucky I don't get an 8 timer. And I don't use Alexa either for that. So oh shit.
Do you have to sit and explain to this person that there is no alarms and that she just has to wonder what she's hearing? like maybe you've reached your limit. Alarm? What
Maybe
alarm?
so. You know what? I might try that.
That's why I keep the egg timer. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Timothy, I mean, what are you doing to stay healthy in all this?
Well, it's something we take really seriously over here. Mental health is a thing, and it seems to seriously affect creative people. Not to mention, I got a pretty strong current of addiction and mental illness running through my own family. So ours, we're avid hikers. We try to get outside and do a little hiking. I'm not talking about mountain climbing or anything. Probably what most people would consider a pretty easy hike. And drink a lot of water. And I forget, maybe it was, might have been Randy that said it, but man, when you're tired, sleep. Don't fight what your body's trying to tell you to do. And the one more I would gently add, which is try to stay away from comparing yourself to others on social media. There's a thing that's called, comparison is the thief of joy. Have you ever heard that expression? And it's definitely something that affects a lot of us in the creative fields, because you start to say things like, well, why aren't I doing this? And why aren't I being featured on the blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, man, none of that stuff matters, especially as a creative. You kind of just got to put your blinders on and this is what I'm doing. And like you guys were saying before, especially if you're comparing it to what the big two is doing or to what other creators doing, there's not a lot of originality out there. So you got to stay true to your own vision and kind of just ignore the noise. I hope that helps.
Wiley J says the carnivore diet.
There
you go.
Lots of meat.
Steak. Steak. There you go. All right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So here, actually, let me, Mr. Michael, we're gonna cut you off for a second. I'm gonna pull up the first of the campaigns real quick, and we will. Oh, here we go. Here we go. All right, John.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to play this video?
Yeah, it's 3 hours. It's not 3 hours. It's 3 minutes long.
I was like 3 hours. I'm like,
really, what I did was this. Let me explain what I did with. What I am doing is every week putting up a 3-minute video comic of an episode of Bloodwing Fire Fist. So in other words, with the sound effects and with music and with my voice acting, I'm doing the show, and it's like you know we would call it sort of a story reel.
Okay,
so
look,
that's what I'm doing, and I put that as the first one for the show. So there's no reason to do that.
Oh, okay. Well, how about I'll give you 60 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead. Do it on.
We'll do 60 seconds, and then if we really like it, we'll keep it playing.
Okay, go ahead.
Fire Fist Angel. Art and story by John Celestri. Episode 1, Part 1. Tearing up the universe. I was hurled through the cosmos by an irresistible force. I shot past swirling galaxies and exploding stars. The blast of infinite power propelled me from the center of the universe far beyond the speed of light. I gritted my teeth as particles of matter and antimatter continually ricocheted off my wings. I had never felt pain before, or confusion. None of this made any sense to me. What did I do that was wrong and evil? What had I done to deserve expulsion into the cold, cruel dimension of mortals? No use trying more sweet talk, sister. I'm not re-signing with you. But Mr. Combs, you've been a valued customer for many years, and don't you understand? Understand me now? Yes, sir, Elmer. Loud and clear. But, yeah, I know. Your Metro Shield Guard Services is the only police service in Brooklyn. I can't afford your rates. You keep jacking them up. I agree it's frustrating. I streak through the atmosphere. But the costs of updating the latest technologies and weaponry have to be passed on to the customer. My body radiated bolts of energy, striking treetops, setting them ablaze. Mr. Combs, sir, if you're not concerned about what happens to your business, think about your family. Who are you going to call for help? I mean, should you need it? Guess my family will just have to rely on guardian angels for protection. I was not in control. The power that had launched me was. What the hell? There goes the wall siren.
cool.
You went through all 3 minutes of it.
Yeah, I was kind of getting into that.
Yeah. John, has anybody ever told you should go into animation?
Yeah. Hey, I told you this is what I well, you see, that's a shot for shot thing from all the panels. All I did was I just cut up the drawings and just put them in that way. So yeah, anyway, so it's a very simple campaign. I'm only looking for $500. I'm 74% of the way there, and it's a trade paperback. It's a digest size. It's in black and white because I felt it works better tonality with that. It gets a grittier feel to it, and so anyway, there's only 3 levels, and you can you've got a PDF version. You've got just the Fire Fist. It's $10 for the trade paperback and then shipping, and then we have the Angel Flight pin, which is $20 plus shipping. It's the pin and a copy of the book, and that's a very straightforward thing. I just don't like making it too crazy because I just don't have the energy to do various covers and whatnot and this and that. And you can see there's a lot of energy that goes into the drawings, and in the whole material is basically, it's a type of book. If you're not interested in superheroes, but you need a little something, you don't want a slice of life. If you like old school animation, if you like was it Heavy Metal?
Yep.
Heavy Metal magazine.
Nice.
That sort of thing, where it's Heavy Metal magazine, speculative fiction, supernatural heroes, mature stories, fantasy, horror, dystopian fiction, and classic 2D animation. This is what it is. Someone mentioned on the reel, episode 3, because I've got 3 episodes now up on the video comics. So it's about 10 minutes worth of film. After the second episode, someone said, this reminds me of Popeye, but through the energy of Popeye but the storytelling of Trigger Studio, which is an anime company out of doing Little Witch Academia or whatnot. They do a lot of Japanese anime stuff. So there's a lot of unusualness going on with the characters. So if you like that kind of stuff and it's not expensive, come on and take a look at this.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're at 370, you're 500, you're $500 goal. You had 7 days ago. I think you're gonna make that. I don't think you're gonna have a problem doing that.
Yeah.
No, it's all right. Yeah, man. I mean, listen, I've read the first couple of issues. I had a lot of fun with it. Looking forward to the rest of them.
Yep.
So yeah. I mean, I think you're well on your way, John.
Yep.
Hold on.
Great narration, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like when the guy was cursing. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was next. Okay. Like I said, I don't have. I need a producer.
Well, one thing about the videos is that the going from it never really works with the sound. On the Kickstarter and then showing it up on screen going that way. It just doesn't seem to work through StreamYard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. My store.
Mr. Aaron, what do you got here?
Yeah.
What do we have?
This is I pretty much haven't done a Kickstarter yet, but I did publish my graphic novel, so that would be the Goblins book right there, and I have 2 kids books. If you click on that, you can see images of it, and then there's images down below that you can connect and see. So this book is done. It's one complete 300-page book. It's one complete story, so you don't need to read any other series or whatever. I do have it split in individual issues on my store if you want to read individual issues. But the book's 40, which I think is pretty good for a 300-page book. It's all color. Yeah. And there is kind of a tongue-in-cheek for the cover of the book inside the book. If you read the book, some people have caught that. This is my kid's book, one of my kids' book. This is one of the ones published by Action Lab. And so I have like 5 copies of this one left, I think. Not very many that I need to print my own versions because Action Lab's not responding to my emails. And this is she's a goblin girl who's a fantasy tour guide. So she takes his family on a fantasy of a tour land. I mean, a tour of a fantasy land. And I just wanted to draw pictures, environments. I like drawing environments, so that's pretty much what this was all about. Just drawing environments and stuff of that nature. And
yeah, it looks really, really nice. I love this with the little, just everything.
Oh,
like
thank
said,
you.
The environment, yeah.
That's cool, Aaron.
Oh, thank you. And then the Roscoe. This is the alien wildlife photographer one I told you about, and he just takes photos of alien wildlife, and the whole thing is set up like a field guide. So these are the photographs. That's what he's actually attempting to do. Again, so there's like that explains what he's photographing or trying to. He's not a very good photographer, and so and I have like I think 8 copies of that book left. So again, since Action Lab's not, I have to reprint these, but I do have copies left, and they're hardback, which is really nice. And then my other, if you have to, Knocked is not on here. My newest comic book, Knocked, is actually on my portfolio site, which is just the same website except get rid of Big Cartel.
Gotcha. Hold on.
So, and the great thing about these things is no Kickstarter. So if you buy the books now, I ship them to you now. No wait time.
Yeah, I ordered a copy. I got it within a week, so you'll get it very, very quickly.
Yeah, so if you want to try it out or whatever, by all means, jump on the store, read some previews or whatever.
So how long did Godlands take you to finish? Because I know you're doing it for a while.
6 years. Took 6 years to finish that. Yeah.
And how many issues?
12. So it's 300. Yeah, so 12.
Yeah.
24 an issue. Most issue I think are 22, but I was 24. That's what I'd heard. Yeah.
Right,
this
is
my new one. And I just mixed Barbarians with Halloween. I like Halloween and I like Barbarians.
Cool.
And that's why it's Nocturnal. This is the inside of the book. Each issue is a complete story. So I'm not numbering the issues. So I'm not doing different covers. So if you see a cover that you don't have, it's a different story. And this is from the first story. And he's always trying to get food. That's the running joke, because he's always just trying to get fed. He's just barbarian. He's always trying to get fed. And he ends up in this story meeting a talking skull that asks him to carry me down to this graveyard so I can reconnect with my long lost love or whatever. And that's part of the graveyard. That's a 2-page spread. And if anybody knows the reference, that's a reference to a video game, a Gauntlet that I grew up with.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so each story is just like an adventure story.
When it comes to eating, I would punch a god. I like that.
This is that was one of my favorite. When I saw that, I was like, because the whole thing was inspired. I'm a big fan of Conan and Robert E. Howard, and I always liked how the old stories just told complete stories. Like you could read Conan stories out of order, and you didn't need to know anything. And I just really liked that idea. I'm like, when it came to this, I didn't have any overall goal. I just wanted to write adventures. This is from the second book. This is what I'm working on now, and he's hunting. And he's hunting these like jack-o'-lanterns that are like these spider jack-o'-lanterns, because I'm trying to keep that Halloween vibe.
Nice.
And
like
he
ends
up killing one, and then this dog, Trixie's name, the dog comes out of nowhere, and he's like, "Where'd you come from?" And the dog looks at the thing, and the dog ends up grabbing his axe and food and just taking off with it. And so that's like, and there's more to it. These are because the original idea started out with these pictures, and there's titles at the bottom of each picture. They kind of explain, and I might do stories of some of these pictures, but that's the Demon King skull. So I have all sorts of stories. I have 2 other stories planned right now, but I could do this forever. I love drawing Halloween stuff, and I love fantasy stuff, so I just mixed it.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that.
And so these will be on my store for $5. I have this is issue 1 is here, and I have a proof of it, and I'm getting those in, and then when issue 2 is done, it'll be up. So that's what I've been working on now, and so. But I wanted this one was to put the most art I can do it to, like do the best art I can do into the story, and that was the idea. So, but I don't number it. I really trying to push because I know when I go in the comic stores, is usually like I'll find an issue 3 or 4 of a series, and I don't find a number 1, so I won't buy a series. So I'm really trying to save each story as a complete story that you could buy anything in order. I don't number it, so you can just buy whatever you want. So I'm trying to encourage impulse buys because anything is instead of just it's got to be a series. Like no.
How many pages are we talking there, Aaron? How many pages?
24 pages a book.
Okay.
So each book could be 24 for the short stories. So, yeah.
Cool.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's
really
cool.
nice.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you know, unfortunately, I'll be waiting for a trade again, but that's just how I roll. You know.
Why?
Oh, yeah.
You have
When I
to
do all
trade their
four,
individual
Or
stories.
If Aaron printed them out as trade paperback issues, would you take that?
No.
No.
This is a calculation.
Hey, do you plan on putting? Yeah.
My thing is this: if I have a comic book, I bag it and I board it. I put it in a box. Right. If I have a trade, I put it on my shelf, and then I take it down every now and again. I reread it.
Okay.
Well, I do plan on trade. So every 4 issues, I will be compiling them into a trade. So the trade is coming. I will do that.
All right, cool. Looking forward to it. Because, like I said, I got his omnibus, so you know.
Yeah. That was the guy. And that was how the book was meant to be. Even when I split into issues, I did it just so I can try to disseminate it into the world. But it was always meant to be one book. I always wrote it that way.
Gotcha. Randy, we got the Fool. What's going on?
It's the Fool. There's this guy running around the city dressed in this outlandish outfit, fighting street crime with practical joke weapons. He wields a mean rubber chicken. And anybody he ties up for the police while he's fighting these street crimes, he takes a section of their clothing as a trophy and incorporates it into his action duds. And depending upon your point of view, there are a couple of detectives that have been assigned the Fool case to track this guy down and just get him off the streets before he hurts somebody.
All right, cool.
And
You want me to play this video?
Well, you can. It's only like 46 seconds long. But yeah.
Cool.
Arrow Comics is proud to present to you the fast-paced vigilante justice as only... what is this guy dressed as? This is the Fool. This is the Fool from Arrow Comics, with great artwork by Chris Tyson, colors by Patrick Gamma, written and created by Randy Zimmerman. This guy runs around the city using practical joke weapons to fight crime, and the cops just want to get him off the street before he hurts somebody. You need to read this book. Available in its own individual campaign or part of Arrow Bundle number 2. Arrow Bundle number 1 is also available with the Fool campaign over at funmycomic.com. Check it out.
Here you go.
Straight into the point.
Yep.
Nope.
Very nice. All right. I mean, and they have a flexible goal here so people can still order it, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep. I just finished the print file on that. It's going to go to press soon. Just have 1 or 2 little details to spit and polish, and then it's off to the printer. Once it goes to the printer, we're going to withdraw that campaign, but it'll still be available. We're looking at setting up a Arrow Comics store over at funmycomics.com where you can go through and cherry pick our different products. Plus, we have arrowcomics.store where you can go in and get anything that's currently just available. It's like Aaron up there. We can turn it around really fast within a week. Anything that you order from the store is already on hand. And as soon as the Fool comes out of the printer, it'll be up there as well as the having the campaign fulfilled.
Okay, cool.
The artwork looks great. That one picture of him over the city.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Well, this is a book that I did about 20 years ago in black and white, and this character has always needed to be in color. And I found a great colorist, so I went through and rewrote some of it, punched up the dialogue a little bit, made the humor more modern because a lot of it was, 20-year-old references. And it's a great self-contained story that introduces the character to you. You get a good grasp. The story is really through the perspective of the two detectives that are meeting at Harvey's, which is a greasy spoon run by a guy who looks a lot like Harvey Kurtzman. And as they compare notes and their exposure to this weird, crazy character running around fighting crime. He takes a tie and cuts a couple of holes out of it and uses it as a mask, and you can see he's a genuine hodgepodge of a costume there. His costume is always shifting. So depending, he gets a hat shot off of him, he reaches back behind him in his back pocket and pulls out a ball cap and puts it on and continues fighting crime. And the whole time he's cracking jokes, he's picking on the bad guys, and it's just a lot of fun, a lot of action, just a great story. I can't wait for people to read. And Patrick had colored all of the hybrids stories from Luke Stone, and he was available, so I had him color the Fool, and now I've got him working on a lot more stuff. So you'll see a lot more campaigns coming out in the near future of material that it really needs to be in color. You can see there, it's just phenomenal stuff. Just great artwork.
No, I did a great job.
The story's pretty good too, but
I'm waiting to get my copy. I
can't wait for you to see it. I'm real happy with it. We're offering it for $5 at fundmycomic.com. The PDF file's $3. As soon as the book goes to the printer, the PDF will be going out to people. So, and there's a couple of other tiers with autographs and the Arrow bundles that we have together right now. There's 2 different bundle sets that of number 1s, and the bundle 2 has got 3 number 2s and 3 number 1s included in there. And it's just meant to be a lot of fun, a lot of entertaining action. And Calico is offered in the first bundle as well, and that's got artwork by C. Michael Lanning. And Calico is also on my bucket list here to get that done and finished off here pretty quickly.
He's too angry to talk about good things in comics.
Too angry.
Yeah.
Too angry. Yes.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Why am I angry?
I don't know. You don't want to have nothing nice to say. Nothing good.
His middle name is now C. Angry Lanning.
C.
Angry Lanning.
Yep, we're gonna call you
that on
Kangry.
me, JD. Don't put that on me.
Kangry.
Put that on me. It's all because Rosario's not here.
That's it.
Why.
That's it. That's all it is.
You'll be the Kangry man.
Yeah. Yep.
I just like that. Do you see Michael
I gotta
Smash?
come up with my own questions. Yeah.
So Timothy, I mean, you sent me this link, so I just want to give you a quick shout out for your show, man.
That's great. And I'd love to mention to this group, I'm always trying to, let me say this the right way. I'm very grateful for the support of the indie community, and I'd like to thank everybody for all their support. And the idea came to me, look, I want to try and do something too. I'm kind of at that level where I want to try and support other creators. So this is what we came up with. We do a couple of different shows, interview shows, and of course the Creative Cranium, which runs every Friday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Anytime somebody wants to be a guest, come on and shout out their project. Feel free to give me a yell. Or I'm also doing now what they call short form videos, which are 55-second videos. They're pitch videos for your projects. If anybody would like to have one made, I'd be happy to make one for you. And they air on TikTok, FB Reels, and YouTube Shorts. And we've just finished the first 3, and they came out pretty good, if I do say so myself. And the idea is to make something that's not about me, you see, because, during the Kickstarter campaign, I'm just like everybody else. I'm droning on and on about why you should buy my stuff and why it's the greatest thing. But I wanted to do something where it's about the other creators. And essentially, in this case, it's me, essentially repping their book. Some creators, some people aren't too comfortable on camera. Some people aren't necessarily the best narrators. That's not the case in this room. Everybody's a great communicator. But, sometimes artists in particular can be a little bit shy. So if there is anything that you would ever like to try, please send me a message. I'd be glad to make you one of these short videos. Or if you'd ever like to be a guest on the show, I don't have any kind of sophisticated invite process or anything like that. This is kind
just raise your hand, like
I know.
over here.
Yeah.
I've friended everybody in this room, and a couple of you I know already. But the one thing I can tell you is that, I was doing something wrong, and I always like to share it with the group. And what I was doing wrong, I was advertising my books into what they call the link graveyards. And what I do is I spam all the Facebook groups and I'm hitting all the other creators. And I knew very quickly that I had to do something that was going to reach out to customers. That would be more like something, they're more like shows, I think is what you'll find if you watch one of them. And they're actually, I pretty much stole the idea from JD and also my buddy Travis Gibb, in which they're more carefully thought out questions and answer periods for other creators and comic collectors and things like that. If you're a comic book collector, you'd probably like it. Anybody else in this room a comic book collector? Please raise your hand.
No, I've never heard
absolutely.
of it. What is this show about again? Comic books?
But yeah, and we've had some moderate success with it. I'm a little bit surprised. I do get quite a few customers. I'm at the level now where I get more from this than on, being on Facebook or any other kind of thing. So I'm hitting hard the YouTube. Is anybody else using TikTok?
I don't, strange enough, I got into the TikTok stuff. I watched the TikTok versions on like Facebook and YouTube. I don't know if there's, I think they're called Reels or something.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Reels.
I don't go on TikTok, but I do, because like I'll go on YouTube and I'm like, and then they have like the Reels. I'm like, oh, what? And then you do get caught up in them.
You get caught, yeah.
That too.
It's addictive. In this case, some of these videos they're under 60 seconds is how you hit all three sites. And I'll just give you a couple of quick examples. I did one, it was about 4 days ago for Carissa Grant, one for John Westhoff, and one for Lori Calcaterra. And a couple of them in under 3 days are over 500 views already. Which I don't get 500 views on anything, fellas. I realize maybe you guys are different than me, but that's that was pretty good numbers for us. So this is going to increase in the next 30 to 60 days. And if anybody would like to try one, I'll just give you a quick synopsis. All you got to do is send me the 11-second pitch for your book. Send me 2 covers, 1 interior page, and maybe a piece of merch that you might be offering. And I'll make a short video for you, and it'll air on all 3 sites.
Cool. Nice. Okay, cool.
I'd love to do it, man. I got to tell you, I'm honored to be affiliated with such creative people. And if there's any little bit I can help, you can count on my enthusiastic support.
Tim, you're very, very, very kind.
I stole the idea from you, JD, as you know.
There you go.
I like, people keep telling me how much of how much I'm a problem and all that stuff. So.
By the way, I got to give a quick shout out. JD and I did the 11 show on the top 11 animated films. Mm-hmm. It's super fun to do some of these. And the idea is that, like, a quick thing is, we always try to focus on positive stuff, right? I'm one of those believers. If you put out positive stuff, that's what you're going to get back. And there's tons of shows of everybody gassing on about how they don't like this or don't like that. And we don't do any of that. We just pick kind of obscure things that we really like and then geek out over it. And the idea is people come into the comments and disagree with us if they hate our picks, So we're having a lot of fun doing it. I definitely throw out the welcome mat for this group.
Thank you. Now, Tom, you didn't send me a link. So do you have anything coming up that you want to promote real quick?
Like I said, the BD13 anthology is what we're doing next. So 3 stories. I went and got a couple extra writers. So Pat Shand has worked for us in the past, way back in the day. And so he was the first guy I tapped on the shoulders. Do you want to come back and do something? He was like, yeah, absolutely. So he decided he wanted to continue. He wrote a part of our Critterverse expansion back in the day for a character called Slipstream. And he was like, can I just keep doing that? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. And then the 3rd story, I knew what I wanted it to be because we have a book coming out in November, the 3rd issue of Princesses versus Zombies. So I knew that I wanted to introduce our new princess. And so I reached out to Stephanie Menard, who I had talked to for many years about getting her to do something for us. And I was like, hey, does this sound like something you want to do? She was like, absolutely. So off to the races we went. And then I myself am writing a book or one of the stories. It's a spinoff from our vampire book called Ursa Minor. It's called Yeehaw Vampires. Basically, it's like vampires, Thelma and Louise, Dukes of Hazzard with a couple of vampire girls in their car. So it's just going to be fun, sort of touching on some of our various universes. We'll have some covers that we're doing that'll be some of our other books that are not, in the actual story portion of it. And that'll be launching July 5th.
All right, cool. Looking forward to it. I mean, it's going to be awesome as always.
It's going to look very cool. Yeah.
Mr. Lanning, you're up, sir. What's your question?
I have a question I've been thinking about for a while, and this curious question. And here's the thing: I want you all to turn off your creative marketing brains, and I want you to turn on your backing brains as backers. I don't want you to think as creators. I don't want you to give excuses for campaigns. I want to know, as a backer, how you feel about this. When you see a campaign with no end date, or it has a long 100-day campaign, does it deter you from backing those campaigns?
Interesting.
100 days?
Mm-hmm. Some of them are 300 and something. So,
all right, Tom, you're up.
I probably wouldn't touch anything that's that long. I don't see the point, honestly. I mean, in today's day and age, we have a 24-hour news cycle, and you're going to tell me you're going to have a campaign running for 100 days? No. I'm going to forget that I even backed it by the time it's done. If it's even done. Something will show up in my mailbox, hopefully, and it'll be like, oh, look, yeah, I remember this happened, last year sometime. I mean, even for our campaigns, I don't even do 4-week campaigns anymore. Everything we do is 3 weeks or less. So, you got to really kind of understand I mean, we live in an age of instant gratification, right? You want something, you go on Amazon, you click it, it's there tomorrow. So we're already behind the 8 ball when we're telling people, wait for a month, and then wait for a month for us to print it, and then wait for a month for us to ship it. We're already 3 months behind what Amazon just gave us. So the faster you can do something, and I understand that sometimes projects need like large amounts of money, like huge, like if you need like $100,000, okay, we're talking about funding like a movie. It's a different situation. But if it's just like a comic book, you should be able to get in and out of a campaign in a month, and then move on to your production and get it done.
Yeah. All right, cool. Aaron, what are your thoughts?
It wouldn't really deter me. I mean, if I like something, if I think it's cool, I will try to. I'm looking at if it's in reasonable price, and I'll back it. Time difference doesn't really, because usually I get something that's surprised in the middle, like, oh, I forgot, I got that,
Yeah.
which I have done before. I think it's, to me, more in the quality of what they're getting. Time doesn't really factor in. But then again, I always think Kickstarter always seemed weird to me, because I've had 2 people come to me and they're like, if you throw a Kickstarter, I'll back it. And I'm sitting there with my actual finished comic in hand. I'm like, you could buy it right now. And they're like,
yeah, right.
I'm like, no. I want to wait a month and then another month before I get your book, and I want to pay twice as much as what you're offering me to get your book. And I'm like,
they will produce
that way I support you. I'm like, you can support me now by buying it out of my store. No. And I'm just sitting there. My mind is boggled. I'm like, what? I've never. That would be, to me, I've always made this like going to buy something at a store and like, I want to buy this milk. I'm like, great, give us your money. Now we're gonna hold this milk for a month. You can't have it. And when you come back, we're gonna give you, the milk, half of it, the other half, or something. I've never quite figured that out. And why people, because I'm always looking for stores. Like I support Kickstarters, but if you have a store, man, I'm going to your store and buying your book. If I want it, I'm going to your store. And stores to me are much better. I love stores because then I could just pick what I want and grab what I want, a bundle, and get it. I am still surprised that so many Kickstarters, once they're done, I'm like, oh, they're done. Can I go get it? And they're like, no, it's not in the store. I'm like, well. So, because I always thought, no, like, again, I've been wrong, that Kickstarters were to get the comic so you get copies of your comic to sell in your store, but apparently that's not the case. So anyway, I know it's always baffled me. I've had friends say that to me, and I still just walk away bewildered. So I don't know.
Too many people don't have the forethought of what's next for that. So and in a lot of cases, here's the other thing: a lot of cases, there's people that are just doing Kickstarters or comics in general as just like, I just want to say I did it. And so they're not worried about, I have 1,000 extras to sell later. But there are people that are in the business or trying to make the business where they're like, I made my comic and now I'm going to make number 2. Well, do you have number 1 available? No, because we already made that. And I'm like, who's coming in on number 2 if we can't get a number 1, especially in the indie world when those books are short print run. It's not like we can go to the comic book store and get it. So always plan to have extras of your number 1s and as you go along. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get new people involved.
Oh yeah, I do that. I always print double of number 1s and then 2s and stuff of my stuff. But yeah, because I've seen a few, and they always have the catch-up ones, which it is cool to have a catch-up bundle.
I do those all the time.
Yeah, it still baffles me. This is just my thought. So I mean, I have nothing personally against Kickstarters. It's just weird things I can't wrap my head around. When people pay $15 to $20 for a single issue on a Kickstarter and then complain they have to pay $5 for a comic in a store. I'm like, they're like, well, I'm supporting the person. I'm like, again, there's lots of things I'm like, wait, what? not quite. Because if I really like a comic, I will buy it. But I have seen a few comics like that looks great, $20 an issue. Not that great. Sorry, dude. I'm mad at you. Like there's a certain part where I'm like, come on. But they still do it. So.
Yep. All right, cool. Randy, what are your thoughts?
Well, that's the hassle of part of the hassle of working with print on demand is that your per unit cost is so high you have to charge more. It's just that simple. But as a backer, I have a rough time backing anything on Kickstarter because I never know when the money's gonna come out of my account.
Yeah.
And there are times that my account's really thin. There are times that my account's really thick. I would rather have pay for it and know the money is out of the account than to worry about whether or not is it coming? Is it going to come this week? Is it, oh my goodness, oh, I forgot I backed that campaign.
Yeah.
Now I'm sunk with paying what I call stupid tax to the bank, if the account is too short. But when I back a book, it's because I have to have it and because I can afford it.
Yeah.
And I've lost out on a lot of campaigns because I was worried that the money is going to be too tight in the account, I just don't have it. But there are other campaigns that I've backed that I don't see for a couple of years that I have to have. I'm happy the money is gone because I'm not with on a platform that's hanging it over your head going, is it? It's like that fisherman guy in the insurance commercial. I thought you had it, that kind of thing. And that always bothers me. So that's just the way I feel about backing a book.
Yeah, I agree with Randy. That's one of the number one things I always have to judge when this money's going to hit and come out. And just as weird, because you can kind of go have fun and go, because I mean, the way they set up one, you like this, go to this project, and pretty soon I'm like, wow. And so yeah, that's again why I like store. And there's some others that have dropped. Like if you could drop the money at the exact time I know I have it, and I'm like planning for it, that's perfect. Yeah.
That's also why people have a lot of spikes at the end of their campaigns because people are waiting.
Yeah,
they get pulled out a little bit quicker.
Yep.
They wait to the end of the campaign. Okay, boom, last 24 hours. All right, so the money's gonna come out quick. That's why some people do that. All right,
or if it's already funded, and the money's gonna go, that's okay. Then you can plan on it.
Yeah, exactly. John, what are your thoughts?
100 days is just way too long. I mean, and then when are they going to start the production? If they're waiting for the money to come in, how much skin is in the game? And that's the thing. And not to denigrate, writers, because I'm a writer and I've done, but you know what? When you're writing, you've done it. But you know what? That's about 20% of the way there. The physical labor comes afterwards, and there's always something. If you can't do it yourself, then you don't have the ability to factor in all the ability, all of the things that can happen to cut that thing off. So you get 100 days. No, I just wouldn't do it. So
I didn't even know that was an option on there. I thought they only.
No, this is not just Kickstarter. This is across the board. It's
okay.
It's across backer. Yeah. Period.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Tim, what are your thoughts on this?
Too long. I'm kind of with Tom on this one. It's the instant gratification, right? My guess is you'd be more likely to lose that customer rather than find somebody that's willing to be that patient. And I get it that now it's a trend to, I primarily do 30 days. And I did try once to do the, 21 days, I guess it was. Or I think it was actually 22 days. But mine suffered a little bit from it. I took a little bit of a bump backwards. Like I felt like I gave up, 20% worth of business. And then I tried, I didn't do this because I was a genius or anything. It was because I wanted it to run over Star Wars Day, over May the 4th. So I picked up like 4 or 5 extra days. And I did pick up 4 or 5 extra days of business. But I don't think I would go over 30 days in any case.
Okay, that's fair. It's funny. I've backed a lot of campaigns. I think I've backed well over 300 campaigns, and the factors are for me is like who's making the campaign, right? Because I've backed campaigns by people I don't know, general newcomers, but I've also backed campaigns by Matt Kint, by Mike Mignola. So Arthur Adams recently. It depends who's doing the campaign, what's the campaign for, right? Timothy Vigil or Tim Vigil, who's done Faust. He did a campaign 60 days.
Yeah.
777 limited 777 books sold out in 15 days. Right? $120,000 later, gotta wait another 45 days for the damn campaign to finish. Right? Sold out. You got nothing else. He's done, right? But you still gotta wait. And I think they did that not knowing what was going to happen, right? They just didn't know. They were just like, oh, we're going to put out there. We'll be lucky if we sell half, right? They sell out, and they're like, damn it, we got to wait 45 days. But that's something I'm willing to wait for. I back that campaign. Like I said, it just depends, who it is. If it's Mike Mignola, I'm going to back it, because I know I'm going to get the product eventually. Takes a little bit long. I have campaigns that I've backed. They're like 2-3 years late. I have campaigns that I have creators. I should go to conventions and smack them because I know them personally. It's just like, bro, like what the hell's going on here, man? Like people I've known for 30 years. And I'm like, dude, where's the book? It's been 4 years. What's going on? And then they like, oh well, I'll give you back your money. I don't want my money.
Yeah.
I want the damn book. I want you to live up to your word.
Yeah,
that's what I want you to do. Be a man, right? You're going to tell me you're a professional, right? Draw 1 page a week for a year. You have your book. It's been 5 years. What are you going to tell me? COVID, this, that, the other thing? You know what I mean? So you're not a person of your word. That's all you've ever expressed to me. That's what you've shown me. You're not a person of your word, right? Finish your book. I've had books come in 7 years later. I had one artist did a beautifully painted book. It was an art book. It took 7 years, but I got it.
Was it worth
right? I mean,
I'm not saying that to be like mean or whatever, but I'm saying you finally got it because this stuff was like,
You got to remember. I mean, I do forget. Right. I do forget that I backed the book. Like I'll forget. I don't give a shit. I just forget about them. And a package will show up at my house. We're like, oh, what's this? And then you get what is that? Kick startled. So you just open it up. You're like, oh,
that's funny. That's funny,
right?
Yeah.
So you're like
trademark JD Calderon.
Yeah.
No, that's actually an old term that I haven't heard in a while. Kick startled. Yeah. But it happens all the time. I go to the door. I say, what the fuck is? And I'll open it up and I'll be like, I say, oh right, I forgot about this, and it's just okay, cool. And I mean, it just depends. I mean, I'm a degenerate when it comes down to comic books. So it's like, I'll buy them, I'll forget them. I have, way more than I shouldn't say way more than any human should have, but Jesus, sometimes it feels that way.
So I have a question. Can you guys kind of tell sometimes if the person's going to finish the book just by the Kickstarter? Or like I've seen some Kickstarters, I'm like, this looks great. This is the only comic this guy's ever going to do. And I don't want to be mean, but you could just kind of tell, like maybe there's not effort, or they have we have 2 pages done. Yeah, you're not gonna finish that. I don't know. I mean, I try not to mean, but I've seen times gotten a notion. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, look at this, Larry. Oh shit, Pigtails. Yes, Pigtails. When is your next campaign, sir? Come on.
Yeah, I think he's
Bring
trying
on
to
the
do
show.
that Rich Ayala Roach Balls name dropping in the comments.
Type of
Yeah,
marketing.
he's trying to do some kind of guerrilla marketing there. Hey, there.
There you go. No. Listen, that's fine. I don't have no problem with that. I got to get him back on the show. The problem with Larry is he works Sundays. He's at his job goofing off, listening to us. Instead of work, I'm sure his boss is somewhere. Where is Larry? He's supposed to be working. But yeah, man. I mean, So all right, listen. I got a quick question to ask everybody. Right. I do alt covers. I know Tom does alt covers. Right. Tim, I think you've used them.
Do what now?
Alternative covers.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Variant covers.
Yeah.
Variants.
Yeah.
So, do they work?
Yes.
Right. And
yes.
and to what extent?
That's
right.
It. Yes.
Yes. All right. Well, they work for Tom. We know this. All right. But Aaron, I mean, okay. Here. All right. So we'll do it like this. I'll take one from C. Michael's book. As a buyer, do alternative covers do something for you? Have you ever seen an alternative cover that made you buy a book? Made you specifically buy that cover? There you go.
No. I'm very much more concerned about what it looks like on the inside, and it irritates me more when I see great cover. Open it up, I'm like, yeah, it looks like crap. You can wrap a piece of dog shit and pretty paper all you want, but if it looks like crap inside, and I've seen that, I'm very much, and this is maybe old school, I'm very much a believer like the art on the outside should reflect the art on the inside, and I don't like it when they do differently. So no, I've never bought it. If I see a cover, I'm like, well, give me a print. Because the cover's too small. It's only like comic books. Like, give me a print of it. Give me 11 by 17 print of that. If you're, and to me, sometimes I know this is going to sound weird. If you're trying to sell me on the cover, then that usually speaks you don't have a lot of confidence in the story or the book.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
I'd say you're talking to the wrong people then. No, honestly, because I'm just going to jump in. Fuck it. I'm just going to do this.
No,
so
Go ahead.
You're first of all, you're not wrong. There are definitely books that have like a good cover, and then the insides were done by like their cousin down the street. Like that happens. That's a real thing. But there are far more examples, I think, of quality variant covers with some name value to them, whatever, and the insides are maybe not like, so let's just say J. Scott Campbell. If you're buying a J. Scott Campbell cover, you're not going to get him on the insides. We all understand that. But the interiors of the book are still going to be a quality level that is higher than, your average indie guy, I guess you'd say. Your experience as there's never been a cover that I've bought because of the cover, give me the print anyway. There's part of the reason that the variants work. There's multiple reasons. One is it is collectible, however you want to define that. The print is not, generally speaking, it's not going to be collectible. So most people will be like, I want the comic because there's 100 of them or whatever it is. Two, they work because if you put somebody that has name value, like legitimate name value, like if you go get Eric Basildua to put a cover for you, his fans are going to come follow to that book. And at least the first time, they're going to be like, oh shit, that's cool. Let me get that book. And then you hope that they open the book and they like what's inside and they'll come back for the next one. Right. But this is why they work. And it's not an exact science by any stretch of the imagination. I've worked with tons of artists. I've done tons of different concepts and different ways of doing variant covers. There have been times where I've been like, that is going to kill, and it has flatlined. And other times I've been like, I don't know if that one's gonna happen, and then it just sold out of the, instantly. So it's not an exact science, but anyone who's going to do variant covers, you have to find a way to find people that either are a name like an Ebas or J. Scott Campbell or something like that, who's going to bring an immediate return to you, or you have to find somebody who is super, super active on social media. There are artists that I work with that will do a cover that they are a lesser name, but they are wildly supportive of whatever they work on. So even if they have less of a following, they are constantly like, I'm on Tom's book. Go get Tom's book, all the time.
Yeah.
So those are sort of the two ways to do it.
I'm not saying business wise they don't work.
It's-
I'm saying for my personal preference, I don't. I'm not interested in
Sure,
myself.
sure.
Now,
But
whether-
like, if
Yeah.
you like the
Tom,
art,
Aaron, hold on. Just give me a second.
yeah, go.
John needs to go because he has a storm passing through. So, John, just real quick.
All right. Take care. Gotta step down. Take care, guys. Nice talking
That's cool.
to you.
But John,
Take
before
care,
you
John.
go,
Be safe.
let everybody know where they can find you and your work, real quick.
Yeah, you check me out on Kickstarter today and on my channel, John Celestri. I have a YouTube channel, and I'm on the link tree there as just John Celestri Comics. You'll find me there, so you'll find everything about me.
All right, John. Thank you, man. Good luck with the
Thank you,
storm.
guys. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, John.
Take care.
You guys. Okay,
Take care.
bye.
Bye.
And then, you don't have to. That was just like, yeah. So
here's the question, Aaron. If you're on a campaign and you see a cover that you like, right? Why not take a chance on the book versus saying, "Give me a print"?
usually because I'm looking for the interior. When I go into campaigns, I'm going straight to the interior pages. I don't even look at covers. I don't.
Right, but you just said, like, if you saw a cover, you would say, "Okay, give me a print instead." So
because
let's
because
say
I
you
actually
saw,
want.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I would say because I actually want to look at the picture. So if you're doing a print in that capacity, I would like it to be able to hang up to see someplace where I can see it or admire it. Alternative covers. I mean, the alternative cover concept is playing into the idea of the chase card and trading cards. You're taking the same concept of trading cards and putting it in the comic books, which is not bad. That's just what it is. You know, you collect the set. There's rare variants, just like trading cards or whatever. I do see variant covers seem to work better for certain subject matters more than others.
Sure.
I do say, you know, usually for the titillation books, they work better because of the art and what they're selling than most. I don't think most people you know, if I did alternate covers, I don't think that's really going to make much of a difference based on my subject matter, per se. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's also very true. I mean, right. And that's why I think a lot of times you see variant covers for stuff that isn't like the girl books. Most of the time when you see it, it's an homage to something else, whether it's an old comic cover or whether it's like a horror movie poster. Like they link themselves into some other IP versus just getting some, you know, whatever it is. So yeah, there's definitely different ways and avenues to do variant covers to attract attention for sure.
Now Larry says there is a simple answer. We do this. Cover A is from the artist drawing the book, and all the other covers are just optional.
Yeah, we do the same thing. We do the same thing.
Yeah, same here.
All right, Randy, what are your thoughts on it?
I've never bought a variant cover.
Mm-hmm.
I read comics. I like comics, so I buy the book for the book. You know, variant covers. I understand their necessity. Whoops, sorry. I understand their necessity, but
show's over.
And the show is done. just my bell. Sorry, but I've never bought into one, and having a lot of variant covers has never influenced my buying. But I'm an old comic reader, so that's just the way I am. Would I do it in a campaign if I had the right artist? Absolutely. If I thought that it would pull in additional funds or bring some enjoyment, additional enjoyment, or get the book under more eyes, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Absolutely.
Ooh, fair enough, Mr. Lanning. What are your thoughts?
No, I'm not a variant cover person, but I'm just not that audience. But I'm not, so you're gonna all hate this, but I'm not a comic collector.
Jesus Christ! Hold on, let me get him out of here.
But you see, here's the deal. Because here's where you're at. There's a limited amount of comic collectors out there. You want your market to be wider than just comic collectors. You want people who want stories. Mm-hmm. But here's the deal. I buy comics because I like Randy's. I want to read them. That's my issue. And I put them away. If I like them, I put them away because I want to read them again. That's how that is. I don't have a problem with a variant cover if there's somebody. Yeah, like if J. Scott Campbell finally did something again outside of the static images he's been doing for the past few years, I probably would buy something like that. But to me, he's kind of been doing the same thing over and over again, so it's kind of a moot point. And If there's somebody, maybe, yeah, but not often. But usually, if I'm going to go for a variant cover, it's because I'm going for the book already anyway. So,
yeah.
All right, cool. Tim, what do you think?
I'm a little bit in the rarer element, I guess. I do like the variant covers, and I do occasionally buy one. Not all the time. To like sort of tie into what Tom said and Randy too. I'm in it. I'm a reader, so I've noticed a troubling trend, especially for the crowdfunding, which is that you got these beautiful covers and and fantastic pinup art, but then of course you crack the book open and they're very poorly constructed stories and sort of cobbled together, if you know what I mean, and often not even the same artist. But I do like the other fellows too. My cover artist is the cover A, and that's the illustrator of the book. But regardless of what, getting back to the backer question, I do occasionally buy a variant. Like I like the New York City Comic Con variants. I sort of collect those. When I say collect, I might have 3 or 4. I don't buy 100 variants. But if they got one and it's $5 more, let's say, and I really like the art, I will spring for the variant. But it's because I'm a little bit of a collector, right? I'm not like a snob, like, well, I'll only buy a variant, And just a quick reminder, I'm the guy who said in the beginning, well, I want to be known as a writer. I'm not going to put variant covers on my books. Right? Well, then you quickly learn the economic reality is you have to, because that's, more sales is, where you're going to get the dollars. But as far as myself, I would buy a variant. And there's a couple that I have that I'm rather fond of. And I also like things that are, like Tom said, that are a little bit different, like he mentioned, like somewhere like maybe a movie poster or maybe like a horror movie poster, and they're kind of like reframed to fit that collectible. I like things like that. And I also like the ones I tend to like things that are like Silver Age homages. I think we've all had it up to here with Spider-Man 300 homages and a couple of them that are really overdone. So, I try to, I always do an homage cover, but I try to pick ones that are, like the last one, we did one from Young Romance, it was the 60s romance variant. And we did a Weird War Tales variant, if you ever liked that old Weird War comic. So they are homage covers, but they're not, like the Spider-Man.
They're not obvious ones.
They're not obvious ones. And, and again, this is one man's opinion, right? I'm not disparaging anybody. I get it why you would do a Spider-Man 300 variant. And, there's some people that would collect just that. So you basically got a guaranteed sale. But, I kind of lean more toward what Tom is saying. You got to find something that's going to break out of the mold a little bit and try something new.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. For myself, I think in a comic book store, I've only ever bought one variant cover, and it's by Arthur Adams. It was the only reason I bought the damn book. It was a red Sonia, and it had Arthur Adams cover, and I just love that cover. And I was just like, I got to take this one home.
Yeah.
It was a few bucks. I was like, whatever, I'll take that one. And what's funny is I just backed a campaign today from a creator that I back regularly. I really love his stuff. This is a new campaign for him, and this is a little bit controversial because I think this particular creator, he had a bunch of variant covers. I think he's running his artwork through an AI and getting that really slick painterly look on his work. But they're his layouts, they're his designs, his drawings run through the AI to get that type of finished feel. And it's funny because the cover I chose to pay a little bit more money to have one that was just his art, his original, like the stuff that I know that he did, that it wasn't run through an AI. Even though the AI stuff looks really nice. I mean, the stuff looks, I was like, oh, this looks really cool, but I really want his stuff. So I forgo the cheaper book to get the one that was his. So it's interesting. I was just like, it's going to be interesting times because I think more and more artists are going to go down that road where they're going to try to get that really slick look over their works. And look, I mean, if you hire a high end, and I'm sure Tom can speak to this, if you hire a high end digital painter, you know what that's going to cost you. Whereas you get somebody to do a nice pencil drawing for you, and you run it through one of those systems, and you end up with a nice, colored cover, painted cover. The temptation is going to be there, and people are already doing it. People are doing it like mad.
Well,
You
the
know?
Clip Studio was offering that kind of thing before this AI thing blew up. They were they
okay.
were already testing that waters where you would pick the colors, and they need a placement. I don't know. I messed with it a little bit, and it would do that. So that was part of this the program. That wasn't really the AI sense of it. So, and I say that because it's not real AI, but
Right. Well, I'm just saying that now it's more prevalent. Like we just see it more.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, it's going to be one of those things. Like I said, it's a little controversial for some. Some people really get passionate about it. Some people don't care. I'm like, you know, I'm kind of like this about it. I'm like, I don't really know just yet. You know,
Yeah.
I'm still I'm sitting on that fence heavy. So all right, gentlemen, we made it to the second hour. You know, you guys were awesome. Let me just put this up. Big dude. This one is I don't like these because it looks just soulless.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, it's when it comes down to certain things, there's certain fans they're not going to care.
Yeah.
They just see a pretty picture and that's all they're thinking about. You know, and then they're not gonna have the eye to pick out the soulless portion.
We can wrap it up on this, guys. Do you remember just last year when people were buying digital bullshit called NFTs?
Yes.
The buying public does not give a shit how something is created.
No.
They only want to know how they can get it and use it in their life, and that is it.
That's it.
So
So
while you have the moral, discussion of where is AI pulling all of this stuff from, AI is now growing past just pulling from the internet. I mean, you're now, like you just said, you're now feeding things into it and saying, do it by the way. I mean, there are people that are training AI to use their own styles right now. So it's going to be moving way past the idea of scouring the internet like Ultron and bringing back something and giving it to us. So by next year, AI is going to be almost indistinguishable from what we see now.
And here's the thing, though, to Tom's point, while we're discussing the ramifications of it being moral or whatever, there's some people out there making tons and tons of cash doing it. You understand? And I mean, the thing is, though, we're all creators. We all need money to fund our projects or whatever. And sometimes you got to jump on that on that freight train while it's rolling. You know? And I mean, and even if you don't agree with it, but sometimes you just got to get on it just to test it. You got to test it just a little bit. If you don't like it, you get off, you do your own thing. It's no big deal. Yeah. You know, but sometimes, and I don't feel like judging people too harshly who do it. You know, it's just like, look, let them try. Because this is an artist who's doing this to their own work. This isn't some rando person who's never drawn anything. So just typed in a bunch of words into something and just said, poof, here it is.
Taking imagery off of the internet that's not really theirs. Yeah,
exactly. That's not the case here. This is someone who ran their work through a program and it came out with this and it's like, okay, and they were happy with it. And for all I know, they probably touched it up. Yeah. So who knows? But anyway, gentlemen, thank you. This was an awesome discussion. Tom, please, where can they find you in your work, sir?
Right here. Basically, anywhere you go, just type in Big Dog Inc. You'll find us. We pretty much live on Facebook, so that's where everything kind of starts and then disseminates out. Twitter and Instagram, BDI Comics. We have a Patreon that is Patreon.com/Big Dog Inc. And BigDogInc.com if you want to go buy books. That's where you do it.
All right, cool. Mr. Aaron, where can they find you, sir?
Facebook and Instagram, both of them under Humphres. My last name on there, how it's spelled. It's unique spelling. Illustration, just do that. Or just look up, Godlings or Knocked. Godlings has been out there. You can find it. But just Humphres Illustration. It's I do my comic books and my other business art through. So you can find all sorts of stuff on there. But Facebook and Instagram is usually where I hang out the most. So
cool. Randy?
You can find me personally at Randy Zimmerman on Facebook. Don't look for me on Twitter. I don't hang around there very much. You can find my work over at aerocomics.store. That's stuff that's available immediately, like HeroBot Zero Calico that C. Michael Lanning did the artwork on, and there's HeroBot Zero right there. HeroBot Zero got 2 issues of that out and available. That's the adventures of a 3 foot tall giant robot as he defends his city from menaces, as long as he can do it on the clock and get time and a half for overtime. Paragon, which is a superhero story I'm really proud of with artwork by J.R. Harris. It's unique. What would happen in a city if suddenly a Superman were to show up? And Calico, of course, which is by C. Michael Lanning.
Oh, that's cool.
A fantasy story about a talking cat, an elf who collects things, and a few other great characters, including a barbarian fairy character as they try to put their world back together, literally.
That's a variant cover. There's different art inside. So
no,
not really.
no. C. Michael did all of that, and there's a lot.
He did the art inside. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. There's a lot more coming from Arrow Comics. I've got a book being colored right now that is a great, almost Frankenstein type story of a young woman who fights her way out of a test tube and has chains with hooks coming out of the palms of her hand that she can control. That's coming up, and I've got a Russ Leach right now. If you know who he is, he's got a script from me that it's adapting the first ever sword and sorcery story that Robert E. Howard wrote. That's in public domain. Can't wait to see that. The artwork for that's just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. There's
awesome.
Calico 2 is coming, and I've been working on that. Spank the monkey on the comic market for a little while, about the history of the comics, the comic market, the direct market, and all of that I'm hoping to have out here. I might even do it in chunks, like JD suggested I do it a year ago when he was here. I'm finally going to get back up on that. And like I said, I got a bucket list that I want to work on. There's a lot of stuff coming and a lot more coming from Arrow Comics in general. So keep your eyes open for that.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that Spank book. That's going to be an awesome book.
Plus, you can find me on the Indy Comics Network, Comics by Night, and Sunday Funnies. We're all archived over there for your listening pleasure. So,
all right,
lots of fun there.
Mr. Lanning, where can they find you?
You can find me at lanningart.com. That's LANNING art.com. Every Tuesday on the Indy Comics Network at 8:30 p.m. Eastern for Build a Comic Workshop. And pretty soon, I'll be doing something with this guy all the way over there called Magi's Grace is coming out. So
coming out
for that
soon.
Pretty soon.
Yes, sir. It's coming. It's coming soon. Tim, where can they find your work, sir?
Well, if you'd like to buy some product, you're certainly welcome to. That's over at earthdogstudios.com. But probably the easiest way to find me, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Timothy Fling. I'm on Friday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on the Creative Cranium Show. That goes on to YouTube, Comics-Related Madness, or you can watch it on Facebook Live. Also, we're doing the full nuclear assault on TikTok for the short-form video. That's Earth Dog Studios. And by the way, if you're following YouTube, they got an easy way to find you now. They give you a handle. I'm at Timothy Fling. So if you just look for my name, it'll take you to the channel and the multiple videos that we got going on there. And I just want to say thanks, JD, for inviting me. This was a pleasure, sir.
Thank you, sir. It was always a pleasure having all you guys. Thank you guys for showing up. And for myself, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these places under JD Calderon. You can find me on the Oswald Chronicles, and you can especially find me on Kickstarter, currently with Tall Tales, currently being offered. All of our books are in the show notes. So you hit those links and go buy yourself some books, okay? So that's what I always say. Buy more indie comics, especially ours. Guys, have a good night. Thank you so much. Stay awesome.
Take care, everybody. Be safe.
And listen, Mr. Rosario will be back next week. Unfortunately, no,